It's been a long time, and I don't know why I couldn't think of anything to film. Ooh. Today I'm going to talk about my monthly accounting task because I know you want to know. Maybe. Take one. Hey guys, what's up? It's Brandon Lord. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute. I haven't really filmed, and quite honestly, I haven't known what to film. I've been very uninspired, just very I've been busy, I don't know. But I'm gonna start filming more. I need to. I miss it. I miss editing. I miss uploading videos. What the heck? So, for today's video, I'm going to be talking about my monthly accounting task because I haven't really yet. I've done quite a few accounting videos so far, and I've talked about a lot of these tasks, or some of these tasks, sparingly throughout each one. I haven't really given a rundown on what all my tasks are during a month, when I need to get certain things done, what each task entails, stuff like that. And I feel like this would be a good video to kind of give you guys an idea on what tasks you might get when you join the accounting field, depending on what position you get, and kind of certain things you need to know or certain things you're gonna learn. I don't know. With these monthly tasks, I'm going to be talking about closing tasks and then what I do during off close. I do want to film a video next, kind of like a vlog of me throughout a closing process, just to show you guys what days are busier, how I'm feeling during these days, what days people get on my nerves because they're not responding to my emails, stuff like that. With that being said, let me pull up my task list. Okay, where is my task list? I should have pulled this up before I hit record. That would have maybe been the professional thing to do, but let's start with closing tasks, and then I'll go to the after the close tasks that I do for the rest of the month. Just start off, close is about 6 to 7 days. It's usually the first week and a half of the month, starting with day one of close. Day one of close is usually not that busy because it's just the beginning. For me personally, I'm waiting on people to do certain things so I can do my tasks. The day one tasks include validating the PO module to be closed. We have our inventory and purchase order module that we close on day one. The head of the purchasing department, they'll run create accounting and make sure everything's posted. And I just validate GL total to the uninvoiced receipt report total, which the uninvoiced receipt report total is just purchase order items that have been processed and put through the PO system, but we don't have an invoice for them yet. I make sure those two totals tie, and once they do, it's okay to close the PO module. And then I email my boss, and she is the one that closes the PO module. Once the PO module's closed, I take the uninvoiced receipt report from this month and compare it to the one from last month and see what's been invoiced, what still needs to be invoiced, what purchase order may have been canceled or had changed from one month to the other. I send out emails regarding intercompany FA accruals based on the PO 135 report, which is the uninvoiced receipts report. With the uninvoiced receipts report, it has prepaid, fixed asset, or sometimes expenses. With this one, it's the fixed assets that are intercompany fixed assets, and I just send them an email letting them know that there is something that will appear for them, but it's not necessarily invoiced, so nothing really needs to be done with it, but you might have to accrue depreciation depending on what is it called? I think it's half month convention. If anything has a receipt date from the 1st to the 15th of that month, then they would need to accrue 1 month of depreciation. If it's anything after, they don't, but I still email to let them know that that's an item that they can be expecting. So then I record the prepaid adjustment based on the PO 135 report, which is basically any uninvoiced items that are prepaid items. I will reverse the amounts out of prepaid because technically they haven't been invoiced, so they haven't been paid, so they're not prepaids. Depending on the terms of the prepaid items, I will also accrue expenses for them. This task, it can be annoying if there's a lot of prepaid items, as far as a lot of lines, and a lot of them are maybe from the same purchase order, but there's a change in coding as far as department or something like that. So I have to do a bunch of different lines to like get it out of prepaid and then accrue for expense. It can get tedious, but you know, it is what it is. So day 2 is when I usually do my insurance entries, which is the prepaid commercial insurance entry and the prepaid D&O insurance entry. It's just different prepaid insurances we have, and I just record the expense. And I have a schedule for them, which isn't hard. I just see what's been paid, and then like I'll add the paid amounts, I'll add the voucher number for the invoices, and then I'll change the month. And there's a formula that once you change the month, it'll update the schedule to reflect the numbers for that month. The D&O one is a very small schedule, so it's not that complicated. The prepaid commercial insurance, it just has a lot of different policies. Sometimes you can make small mistakes easily, and that's not fun. So day 2, there's not too much to do. So I usually try to pull all my fixed asset invoices. I deal a lot with fixed assets, so I have to put them into the system. And how I do that is I pull a 16450 transaction detail, which 16450 is like the FA clearing account. And then I see all the invoices that have been processed, and I pull all those invoices, and then I either go through mass additions to make sure all that information is correct for that asset and that the totals tie out to the invoice, or depending on the circumstances, like maybe I need to change the coding or maybe certain things need to be adjusted, I'll create the asset in the asset workbench. But also with the 16450, it will have items from the uninvoiced receipt report. So that's a good check, just in case, because sometimes Oracle, maybe they haven't uploaded the invoice, so you're not sure if it has been invoiced yet. One way I'll make sure and like already know that there isn't going to be an invoice for these items is I'll compare it to the uninvoiced receipt report, and whatever items are on that, I know that's not going to have an invoice. That's going to stay there for the rest of the month. I'll also check my emails and see if there's any disposals, retirements. Those are the same thing. Disposals. We're going to stick with disposals. If there's any disposals, transfers, or adjustments that need to be made, I make them, and I make sure we have the proper documentation. On day 3, I need to book depreciation or sales tax for any items on the uninvoiced receipt report. If it's hardware or office furniture or like, you know, something tangible like that, I'll need to definitely accrue sales tax, and depending on the receipt date that I've talked about earlier, I'll accrue depreciation. If it's software, we do not accrue sales tax, and those are also things that will affect the 16450 ending balance for the month. I hope this makes sense. I'm like terrible at explaining things. Day 4, I do my AP accruals, which is basically just a file from our AP team, accounts payable if you don't know, but you probably do. They usually close the AP module or do like a soft close of it the day before close starts. So these are really any items that they have an invoice for but weren't able to process in time. I'll accrue for anything that pertains to what I'm responsible for. And I'll also do some research on certain huge items to like look at the invoices and see if actually they need to be accrued for this month, or maybe they're like, let's say a prepaid item that only a portion needs to be accrued for and not like the full amount. I also on day 4 will start reviewing prepaid recons, which I hate this. I don't hate it. I mean I do. It's just can be time consuming and it's just like annoying. I just spilled water on me. That's what I get for complaining. I have 2 other coworkers that do different prepaid recons. I just look at any items where the terms ended the month prior. Let's say if it's September close, so this past close of September close, I will check any items on the prepaid recons where their terms ended 8/31, so August 31st. And then I'll see if any expenses has been made for September, because with most of these prepaids, there's a renewal. So if they're renewed and they were able to be processed in time, there'll be an expense for them in the September column. However, that's not always the case. Any items where they ended August 31st, but there's no expense made on the prepaid recon for September, I'll do some research on them in the recon and like I'll search like the name of the vendor or something like that. I'll be able to see if there was an expense for September or not and if there was any renewal invoices processed. Usually there is for some of them, but not all. I'll usually reach out to the purchasing department and I'll see if there's any renewals processed or if there's anything that needs to be processed, if there's anything that hasn't been renewed or won't be being renewed. There's some instances where it was renewed, but it was given different coding, so it's actually on a different prepaid recon. I'll double check that, see if an expense was made. If it was, cool. Other cases, there was a purchase order, but it's actually on the uninvoiced receipt report. And from my prior entry, the prepaid adjustment one, I would have accrued for expense if it needed to be, and if not, it would have just been taken out of prepaid. So that's covered, that's good. In other cases, it wasn't renewed. In other cases, maybe the invoice wasn't renewed or we're not renewing with that vendor anymore, so no expense needs to be made, so that's good too. And then in other ones, the person that I reached out to will reach out to somebody else, who will reach out to somebody else, who will reach out to somebody else to see if it's renewed or not. And then sometimes I just don't get an answer, so I just accrue for it to be safe. Sometimes there's a lot of items and there's a lot of emails I need to send, and then I'm waiting to hear back, and I'm just like, ugh. Anyways. Day 5. Day 5, I'm also making sure I process everything for fixed assets, input all the assets that need to be entered into the system, process disposals, transfers, adjustments, see if there's any last minute ones that came through throughout the close. Okay, so by day 6, pretty much the end of close, you know, that's always a fun day because I get to validate all of the modules to be closed. And it's not hard, again, but it's just like annoying because it takes a long time. Validating AP and AR isn't that bad. We get their team to send us like their aging reports, and like for AR it would be an AR aging report. AP is their trial balance. Why did I trial? I just compare it to GL totals. I pull a report that gives all the GL totals of all the different accounts, and I just compare what's on the report they gave me to the report I pulled. And if there's any variances, I'll pull a transaction detail to see what the variances are and account for them. Usually it's just revaluations that take place when you send stuff intercompany. So that's fun, that's not too hard. Tying up fixed assets. That's what's annoying because I have to pull so much. And it just takes so long. I have to pull an asset register report, a cost detail report, a reserve detail report, GL balances for the depreciation accounts and the fixed asset accounts. I have to compare all that, tie everything out. And you know, the asset register report just takes so long. I have to also then, after that, do the roll forward. For the roll forward, I have to take the cost detail report and the reserve detail report and like do pivots of each and compare those GL balances. And it's just like annoying, it takes a long time. Before I validate, just to backtrack, I have to post mass additions, run depreciation, and then run create accounting so that everything posts to the GL. But tying out the 16450 can be annoying because I go coding by coding just to make sure, because everything essentially should sum to 0 unless it's on the uninvoiced receipt report. Because if you think about it, if it was invoiced and it came to 16450 and it came into service, creating an asset takes it out at 16450 because that's just the clearing account and puts it to its actual fixed asset account. Everything should pretty much sum to 0 and all that should be left is whatever's on the uninvoiced receipt report and any sales tax or depreciation I may have accrued. It doesn't always happen because either 1, I might have missed an invoice, it's happened, or 2, somebody who was reviewing didn't put it to post. Then I have to rerun everything. I like to do the 16450 before I do all the official tie-outs because let's say I did miss something. Now I have to rerun everything and I have to pull all new reports so that item will show up. So we don't want to do that. That's not fun. After I validate those modules to be closed, I'm pretty much done for the close. Like there's not much else left to do. Then however, on day 7 or 8, which they consider the close, I don't. But I have to do an unpaid CapEx report, which is basically just a report that shows all the items and fixed assets that are still in the 16450 or 16420 that are unpaid as of that month. Now that close is pretty much done. So after that, there's pretty much usually like 2 weeks at least left of the month. I need to complete any documentation for the close that was just completed. So any recons that are tying out certain accounts. So like the 16450, 16420, accrued AP, accrued other receivable, commercial insurance, D&O amortization, stuff like that. And I just do all those recons, make sure everything ties to the GL, everything's good, yes. Then I do 10% files, which I've talked about in my first day in the life of an accountant video, which is just basically a file that has all like the financial information for that month. And it's just like comparing the financial data from this month to the prior month and like the prior year amounts. I also have to complete asset packages. So it's asset addition packages, retirement packages, adjustments, and transfers. With addition packages, it's usually just the asset additions report with that asset highlighted, the invoice for that asset, and proof of whatever in-service date was used. And that's all that's really needed. I pretty much do all that already when I'm creating the asset or putting it into service and pulling the invoice. So I really just need to add the asset addition report. With disposals and transfers, I'll usually get a disposal or transfer form sent to me from our IT department. It'll usually come with the necessary approvals, and it's a form that has like the asset number, asset information, disposal or transfer date. The packages are just basically the retirements or transfer reports, and then all the necessary forms and approvals. And then with adjustments, same thing pretty much, but adjustments, there's not necessarily a form with it. Like sometimes it's just I needed to adjust an asset because I put in the wrong total, or I need to adjust the date because maybe I had a typo with the in-service date, stuff like that. And those are pretty much all the documents I need to get done for the close that we had just finished. I also send some pivots to certain people that need it. That's pretty much it with my tasks, I guess, because then after I get all that stuff done for the close we just finished, I'm usually just doing stuff to prep for the next close. I'm exhausted talking about this, like Jesus Christ. So yeah, oh my god. So that's basically all I do throughout a month. There's a few things that like also will come up, like certain tasks like or requests needed from like my boss or a different team. With that being said, I hope this gave you guys more insight into what it's like being an accountant and certain tasks you may have to take on and certain things you may need to know about or certain things you just may learn while on the job. One thing with accounting is it hardly changes. It's pretty consistent, which is a good or bad thing. That's up to you. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next week. Bye! Should I do the clicker? Do they like click and stuff when they like end it? I know they do in like the beginning when they like start it, but like we're done.